Bricks and Minifigs is your one-stop shop for all things LEGO. Hit the link below to find a store near you.
My name is Roldan Grace, and this is the build I brought to Brickworld Chicago this year. So I called it the Walking City. It's got the inspiration for this I got from so many different places. New Hashima from last year was one of them, just being a cyberpunk city and everything, very large. And I'm not gonna lie, that was one of the best builds around here.
It was.
But I said, okay, what don't they have? What can I add a little bit? And that is shape. It didn't have a shape to it. And the most recognizable shape for a human is the human form itself. And I had always wanted to make a city for a long time, so most of them are horizontal and everything, but vertical, I think it brings a lot more eyes from around the convention. You can see it from halfway sometimes.
Absolutely. How tall is this build?
So actually, I based it off of me.
Okay.
So it's 5'10". I'm 5'10", but at the tip of the fingers, it's about 6'2".
Yeah, that's incredible. When tackling a project of this scale and this size, where do you start with this?
Yeah, the design process was actually almost as long as the building itself. I had, right after Brickworld 2023, I just was formulating it around in my mind, just thinking, okay, what do I want to do about it? I made loads of sketches because normally I like to recreate things that already exist, like my knight on horseback from last year and my parrot. I do animals, sculptures, but this thing obviously it's not a real thing. So I thought, okay, I need a little bit of on paper. I need to put this down. I actually even made a little ceramic figurine because I was taking a pottery class.
Oh yeah.
And just to get a 3D model of it, just to wrap my head around because I had to do it right. I had to do it right, and I think it turned out pretty well from that. So the building process, I started with the base, and then from there I did the entire Technic skeleton of the model. So it's around maybe like 5-inch diameter at some points, so it's super thick, super sturdy, and honestly, if that wasn't going to hold, like the whole model was not going to work at all. And then from there, I built the buildings around it, almost like a skin, wrapping it around. Yeah.
So are the buildings actually attached to that kind of Technic frame, or do they just kind of sit on the base around it?
So a few of them are, a few of them aren't.
Yeah.
The difficult part was actually a lot of the limbs and the Technic frames are at an angle, but the buildings need to be like vertical and level. So on the skeleton, I put as many Technic holes as I could, and in a lot of places there's like 3, 4, 5 triangle geometry, Pythagorean theorem, so studs do line up every once in a while, and you can stick a Technic pin in there and it'll hold, or an axle or something. But in other places, like this leg right here, it's just the angle is so subtle, so I only have a few Technic pins, Technic holes, and every once in a while, like this place right here, you can see that I use these pieces, and that'll attach the outside almost shell of the houses to the internal skeleton.
Yeah. And as if the scale of this wasn't impressive enough, you decided to add all of this movement and lights in there. So I guess specifically about the movement, how do you sort of incorporate that and keep thinking about like the motors and things that are needed for all of that?
Yeah. So this is the first year of me bringing a moving model to Brickworld Chicago. I had a lot of difficulties in setup and design, and so there are 3 motors in this. They're all connected to a train speed regulator, those old ones with the yellow knob. And the motors are in the torso, and then there are gear trains and axles going out through all 4 of the limbs. And then off from there, you bevel gears, and you can have little bits of movement here and there.
Yeah. And you mentioned the inspiration from the incredible New Hashima city, which is kind of a cyberpunk vibe last year, but you obviously have a variety of kind of architectural elements and house designs in here. So where did you pull that sort of inspiration from? Were you looking at any real buildings, or just kind of seeing what came together with the pieces you had?
Yeah, so actually, New Hashima, I feel like very futuristic, cyberpunk, not super relatable by people because you don't see those houses around in real life. But so what I did is actually I went to the library. I took out at least 20 books from buildings and places all over the world. I opened them up on my Lego table and said, okay, I want this one, you know, what colors look good together, what architectural styles, and, you know, just merge them into places on the body where I think would look good. But at the same time, it couldn't be too much of a contrast with each other. So I have a little bit of, we got like a New Orleans right here, plenty of Portugal, plenty of Spain, a little bit of France, some Japan on the back. And yeah, so different styles, but not too different. And that was a little bit difficult, but so a little trial and error in some places, but it worked out.
One thing that I love that you've done here is used windows throughout the entire thing, and so it feels very accessible and you're able to kind of see inside of it. I think that's always a great feature of builds like this because it really opens it up to the public a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's funny is I didn't order a single window piece from Bricklink or anything for this whole model. I maybe like 2 doors or something, but 95% of these pieces actually were in my collection already. Just a few for a little 1x1 roof pieces and everything, just to finishing touches.
Yeah. Now, outside of the house elements, you've got some great sculpting in the arms and the head here. So what was that process like to get the more human forms together?
Yeah, well, as you can, so I built the head and the hands and a little bit of the abs later on in the main process of the building. The head, actually, I made the last week. I don't know why I put that off. Normally, I always say heads, you should build the head first because that determines the scale. I already had the scale I wanted, but somehow I managed to pull off that face in 4 days. I have no idea how I did it. But yeah, a lot of the stuff I do is sculpting, especially with my animals, but also human figures. And I wanted to incorporate my style, a little bit of my style, into this build as well, just to elevate it, kind of marry the two buildings as well as a creature in some aspects.
Yeah, and I think you captured the facial features really nicely there. What were some of the key pieces for you there, pieces that you find work well for that type of sculpting work?
Yeah, I seem to be a huge fan of the mudguard pieces, which just form perfect eyes. I mean, they're so nice for the eyelids. And of course, those quarter 3x3 kind of smooth round, fairly new, not too new. Those were really useful in just capturing that smooth, rounded, slightly. But in the building process, I made, what's important to do is the parts that you can't build in too many different ways. So that would be the eyes, the nose, the lips, and the chin. And then from there, you kind of fill in the cheeks and the forehead, everything that doesn't really have defining features, but definitely needs to be there, of course.
Yeah. And as we move up the arm, we have the golden brick here outstretched in the hand. How did you decide to include that there?
Okay. The golden brick, it's sort of supposed to symbolize that the holiness of the Lego brick itself, how important it is, and that thanks to this, all of this, and really all of this around us is possible. And also, he needed something in his hand outstretched. It's a super cool pose, I think. And yeah, the golden brick for Lego Masters out there also, they love that because they've seen it.
The Lego Masters reference is always great. Another thing that's cool here is you didn't just build kind of the houses and the figure, but you've got minifigs in here too, which add a sense of life to this. So what are some of your favorite kind of minifigures and poses and elements? One thing that caught my eye is this guy with the wheelbarrow of cash up here on the bridge. But what are some that stand out to you or maybe more hidden elements here?
Yeah, so I made the whole thing. I normally don't work in minifig scale, but minifigures in this, I wanted to have a few little scenes just so that when people see it from afar, they come in and they have some more to look at. So like there's this old man here, and he's fishing for a cat in the tree that got stuck. And let's see, what else do we got? Yeah, of course, the robber. He's robbing from the bank there, and bringing out the money. And there's a party going on in the New Orleans house.
This guy's hanging on by the the railing there.
Yeah. You may have gone a little overboard with the drinks, but.
No, that's super fun. You're able to include those types of elements here in the build. So of all the houses, one of the things that stands out here is the roof techniques. So you've got a variety of different elements used for that, but what are some of your favorites there? Maybe some of the favorite colors as well that you kind of used throughout the build?
That's, okay. Well, I really liked the terracotta, and obviously I have a lot of that around here. This technique here, using the treasure chest lids.
Oh, yeah.
So Ninjago did a similar thing, but it wasn't quite like that. But just a lot of these here with the newer 1x2 and 1x1, double curve slopes. I just really like how those turned out, and those helped tie in each building to each other pretty well.
Yeah. And then when you bring this out to a show like Brick World Chicago, what is that process like to get it here and get this set up?
Okay. Well, this comes apart in a few sections. So everything from the base to right about here in the hips is one section. That's the heaviest part. Then the torso pops off of that. The arms come out sideways. Those slot into the torso, and I've got little locks for securing it. And then the head comes off the top. And I just wrap those in bubble wrap, put them in boxes. And surprisingly, this thing did not crumble at all on the trip here. I learned my lesson from last year.
Yes, you learn by doing a lot with these LEGO conventions and figure out what works well for you. Now, another great element is that lighting in here. Do you have a particular brand you like to use, or how did you incorporate that throughout the build?
Yeah, so pretty early on, I decided I want lighting, and so right after I built the Technic skeleton, I decided to put lights in it, and like the lighting I use, they're just strip lights that go in, that people put around their rooms, just under 100 feet of it. But yeah, I was able to get those for a pretty good price, and like Lego lighting, any other Lego lighting, could have easily spent $400 or more on
it. Can get very expensive.
Yes. So I know the strip lights and maybe fairy lights don't work for every situation, but for this, it was the perfect use for them at this time.
So you just kind of ran those throughout the body and made sure that like they kind of shine through the windows so people could see it?
Yeah. And on the inside, you can't tell, but they are lined up. So lower houses, I have like a wall and the lights are towards the top, so it kind of shines down into the rooms. As I was going up, I didn't have as much time to finish it, so I said, okay, just wrap it around, and line them up with as many windows as I can so the light can shine out, because there's not too much going on the inside here. But going on through here, and then a little bit into the head. And actually, another difficult part was because these come apart in sections, I needed to have some connectors that could be connected and disconnected every time. So roof sections pop off, so I can access that and reconnect and disconnect when I have to move it around.
Yeah. Well, this is a spectacular build, and it's just great to see the scale of it. I know the public has come by and really appreciated it. It was great at World of Lights when you just saw all the lights on in the dark here. But you also brought a couple of other builds here as well. So since we've got you here, can you tell us what these are?
Sure, absolutely. So this I called the Wandering House. It is actually, I took some inspiration from a graphic novel series actually that was big when I was young. It's called Amulet. And it's the main house that they use to go around. Earlier books, just a few people understood the reference, but yeah, it's very. But I really like the concept design of a house that can walk, and balancing it was quite a difficult part.
Are those like gray wheel elements there in the arms?
Yeah, these are gray wheel elements. I can't remember what set, but these, and I hadn't seen this technique before, but it's the octagonal plate with bars around it, and then a clip, and these are inverted 1x2 curved slope pieces.
No, that's fantastic.
And it just forms perfectly together, and you can kind of replicate it around, sort of show that it's bricks. And I don't normally do illegal techniques, but for the roof here, just having those 1x2s, one side of it pop out, it looks so nice.
Right. Sometimes you got to break the law a little bit.
Yeah, it happens.
Then you mentioned your animal sculptures earlier, and this is a great example here.
Yeah, so this year, maybe a little bit smaller than some years, but this is my scarlet macaw, and I had always wanted to do birds. I might do some in the future, but I was inspired by a few things. The Lego parrot they came out, just the $20 one, I thought was a little small, a little underwhelming. The creator one, so I said, okay, why not do something bigger, life size, and it started with the banana pieces actually. Let me pop the head off pretty easily, so you can see there. These are like banana leaves pieces, and they just work perfectly with the old dinosaur tail piece, and that's what decided the scale for this whole thing. So yeah, like I said, normally I design the heads first, and then from there go to the body. And really happy with how it turned out. It balances pretty well, just a little bit heavy towards one side, so maybe a bit of modification in the future, but then the flower's just there to add a little extra pop of color in the branch.
Yeah. Well, these are all magnificent builds. Do you post your work online if people want to see more from you in the future or check out some of your past work?
Yes, I do. So I have an Instagram and a website. The website is roldangrace.com, ROLDANGRACE.com. And then my Instagram is the Roldan Grace, so the ROLDANGRACE.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking us through all of your builds here and for all the effort in building these and bringing them out to the show. It looks fantastic. So keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Pleasure talking with you guys.